Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Dating Made Simple here on the It's Just Dinner podcast. I'm your host, Tom Robinson, and usually I announce my co-host, Bob Walls, right now, but he's not here. And sitting in for him is the great Macy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Tom.
Welcome,
I don't know if I can be the same,
as
Bob,
yeah.
But I'll do my best.
You at least have some energy, which is good.
Sometimes you don't got that energy, but today I'm feeling it. So we're doing good. Woke up at 7 a.m. That's not normal for me. So I'm feeling like I got a lot of energy right now.
Good. And for all the guys out there, Sophie is here. And she is sitting in here, but she said she has a cold, so she didn't want to be mic'd up today. All of our favorite people are here. Bob will pop in later. But I'm really excited today, Macy. I'm super excited.
I am too.
One of the guys that's on Instagram, and he's so successful, is one I'm a huge fan. And I've already told him that I'm a big fan of his. So today we have Max Kramer, and he goes by Tripp. And what a great name. And he runs a company called Tripp Advice. And he's an internationally known dating coach. And he's founded the #1 dating coaching program called Tripp Advice. Did you know that, Macy?
I actually didn't know it was the #1 dating advice.
Yeah, how about that? And he's actually helped thousands of men.
Thousands.
To get out of their nervousness and help them become even more attractive.
We need that in our lives.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
and he
men
has
out
also
there, they need that.
He's also an author of a book. We'll have him talk about that here
Ooh.
in just a second. So welcome, Tripp.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for coming on. We're excited. A lot of men in our audience and a lot of men looking for some help and some guidance. And I thought, man, you are the right guy to talk to them. So thank you so much for coming.
It is my honor.
He was coming on. I was like, I started following him and like looking at all his content, and I was like, this stuff is good.
Did you say, I wish all the boys here knew this?
No, I actually started sharing it with some of my friends. I was like, guys, look what I found on this. I was like, this is how you
Is there anything you didn't agree with or you didn't like?
I'm trying to think.
I didn't find anything. So.
Yeah, I don't. Not that I can think of.
I feel like I'm sucking up to you right now, but I'm really not. I'm really a fan. So why don't you give us a little bit of background, give our audience some background on how you became a dating coach, because you have some of that on your Instagram that I found out about you as being a struggling 17-year-old to where you are now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, if there's a lot of college guys listening, I mean, this is basically where it started, where I was, just a normal dude who wanted to understand, or actually at first I didn't want to understand. At first I just wanted to be able to date or get women interested in me and be able to have a dating life that I could be proud of and be able to meet the kinds of women that I wanted to meet. And I couldn't do that. I called myself the friend-zoned nice guy. So
we have a lot of those in our audience. So
I'm a former friend zone nice guy in the sense where I thought that if you wanted to get a woman attracted to you, you just had to like be nice and do things for them and be a shoulder to cry on. And then if you spend enough time with the woman, eventually she'll say, yeah, I do like this guy. And it took me, I don't know, I guess my whole life up until 24 years old to learn that is not how attraction works. And that's not what gets a woman interested. So, I wasn't able to attract the kinds of women that I wanted to attract when I was in high school and in college in my early 20s. And I had to really put myself through my own process to learn, how do you do that? How do you make that work? And it started just a few years after college, where at that point I was pretty fed up with my dating situation, which I know there's a lot of guys these days who are who get fed up even earlier.
Yeah, they're right with you there.
Yeah, it was
playing for my guy friends.
It was a struggle, and I know a lot of guys. Here's the thing, too, is I thought I was struggling. Now I know that guys are struggling even more, and it was interesting because I started to learn how to date before dating apps came out.
Right.
So when dating apps came out, I was like, oh, wow, this is going to make everything so much easier. And little did I know, 5, 6, 7 years after the dating app started to come out, which is around 2012, it actually has made dating harder. So now for all the men who are single,
that's actually very interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. So that's where, a lot of my work comes into play in helping guys.
So I feel like I've heard a lot of people come on our show and they say, "Oh yeah, like go on the dating apps." Like those they like push the dating apps, but you're anti dating apps, or would you say so?
No, I'm not anti-dating app. I think dating apps is a great place and one of the main ways to be able to meet people. But my point in what I was saying earlier is that dating apps are the reason why it's so much harder to meet women. It seems like it would be easier, but it's actually made it harder. And social media combined with dating apps has made it harder to meet women. And this is why more people are single today.
Oh, interesting.
Why does dating apps make
Yeah,
it harder to meet
why is
women?
that?
Because like the purpose is to like meet women.
Yes, correct. You would think that it would make it a lot easier because, oh, now we can just meet people from our couches, right? We could just meet people that way. And some people have an easy time doing it, but a lot of guys have a hard time doing it. That's because the dating apps have exaggerated the natural course of how men and women select each other, right? Before it was we can just go out to a bar or a social event and you get introduced to a friend and that's how you met people. That was
Right, right.
pre-dating apps,
Mm.
right? And now the way that we're meeting people is not necessarily in person, it's on a dating app. So what is a dating app? It's a profile. So you don't really know how the person is or how their behavior is or how their
Right.
personality is. All you know is what they look like and a couple blurbs of who they are. So it has forced us to be even more superficial than we already are. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with with saying, "Oh, I'm attracted to this person because of their looks." That's fine. That's normal. That's one of the ways people become attracted to each other. But
Right.
that's the only way you can become attracted to somebody or be interested in somebody on a dating app. So it's making it where a lot of women are are not choosing some guys who could be a great fit for them. Instead, they're choosing guys who have the very, very, very best profiles. And so what's happening is because of that, it's creating this big gap in terms of getting men and women together. Women are now having so much choice, which is causing a problem, and men have
I
very
see
little
that too.
choice, which is causing the problem.
Uh,
So I have two questions for you about dating apps. But let's talk about the first one, and that is, what do you recommend? Because dating apps have kind of taken over and they've been made it so easy. So guys are on there and they're looking. So what do you recommend? Because I know you talk about like girls that are just on there to boost their self-esteem, but they don't really want to date. Because I do believe there are a lot of people now that are on them, and a lot of guys are on them, and I think certainly in our area. So what do you recommend?
So what I recommend is you need to have the very best profile possible while also filtering for women who have what I call a high level of interest. Okay. Because you need to filter out the people who are going to be interested, actually interested in meeting up with you and going on a date with you. There's going to be a lot of women who are not going to want to do that. Either you're not matching with them, obviously,
Right.
or they're just women who are just texting you or messaging you on the app, or maybe even text messaging you once that you get a number from them and that are not interested. Clearly, they don't have a very high level of interest. So it's simply put, have the best profile possible. If you want, I can go into some tips for that, but then also filter and not waste time with women who are not actually interested in meeting up with you on an actual date in person. She's there, not DMing on Instagram, texting, FaceTiming, all that stuff, but actually meeting someone in the
Right.
flesh.
So what? Just tell us, what are your tips? I mean, if you gave us your top three or top five, what would they be?
All right. Top tips for the best dating app possible: high resolution photos and not too many photos. So the minimum amount that you could put on, which is usually three, but if you're on Hinge, it's six.
Right.
The reason why you put the minimum on is because more pictures, more room for error. So just enough pictures to, if they're high resolution and you have a headshot, a body shot, and maybe a passion or action shot, that will be more than enough for a woman to understand what you look like
Right.
and to
Right.
be interested in you. And then for your bio and for your prompts, you want to be as specific as possible. So specificity is huge. So instead of saying something like, I like the outdoors, you want to go further into that. Like, well, what is it that you like about or what do you like doing in the outdoors specifically?
Okay.
Be specific. I'm a foodie. Okay, well, what kind of food? What kind of restaurants? What kind of dish at the restaurant? I like to hang out with my friends. What do you like to do with your friends? Like, the more specific, the more it will do two things. One, it will give her some sort of data to go off of where she might message you and say, "Oh, I also love, pasta carbonara," and be able to relate to you and actually
Right.
use that as a way to talk to you. But also, it's going to make you stand out, and it's going to be more interesting to read the specifics about a person rather than the generalities. So
Right.
that's my main advice. But I'll give you one more tip with it too: is you should
Love.
be swiping up to an hour every single day across multiple apps.
Ah, I love it. I love it.
Whoa.
I love it.
Yeah,
No way. Wow.
yeah.
That's kind of wild, but also like I guess if you're like really trying to get married and date, then yeah, that's when
So
you do
so
it.
why?
Well,
Why do
it's
you
more like you're
recommend
trying to
that?
get options because you need options, right?
Right.
Women don't have to do that, by the way. They don't have to do that. Macy, are you on a dating app?
I'm not on a dating app.
Are
I've
you
tried to encourage it multiple times here.
are you
So
single?
I am single, yeah.
Okay. How come you're not on a dating app?
she gets a
I
lot of attention not on a dating app. So
I don't feel like I need to because I have enough friends where I feel like they introduce me to a bunch of new people all the time. I'm a very social person, and I just feel like I don't necessarily need that extra options. But maybe I
Got
guess
it.
you're kind of making me think I do now.
No, no, no. You don't because you have the options. My point was going to be that if you were to get on a dating app, you would have so many options you wouldn't even know what to do with. You could probably put really crappy, low res photos of the ugliest pictures of yourself, and you would still have more options than, let's say, a guy who's, an average looking guy who's like a seven, because women will just generally have more options. That's just how it works. That's how it works in nature, right? You probably don't have to work that hard to get a guy interested in going on a date. You might have more issues further down the pipeline, so to speak, where you want to make sure you're only with a guy who's interested in you and having a relationship, versus maybe
Mhm.
something physical, whatever it may be. But for men, and this is what dating apps is just that initial process. So my point is that a woman will go on a dating app, have plenty of options. She needs to just work on filtering. That's all she needs.
right.
A guy needs to do both. He needs to obviously filter, but he also needs to get lots of options. He needs to create the volume. So how do you do that? A really good profile, swiping up to an hour a day. Now, here's the thing. I say an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be 10 minutes. It all depends on what's happening on the dating app. If you're getting enough dates and you're swiping for 15 minutes a day, well, you're good, right? You don't
Right.
have to
Yeah.
Right.
swipe anymore. But if you're not getting those results, well, it might be either your profile's not good or you need to be swiping more. And that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to men trying to do it. And that's the advice. That's what people need to do. Not avoid dating apps. If you're avoiding dating apps, you're missing out on so many great opportunities,
Right.
but you just have to know how to do it correctly.
And I hope the guys heard you just say that because you're missing out on so many opportunities. And we've talked about it where you can meet people that are not in your direct area.
Mhm.
And also, there's the opportunity to mix cultures there that you're missing out on because you live in one specific area. And so, by being on a dating app, you can reach out to so many different people.
Yep. Yep.
You seem so knowledgeable with just like dating apps. I mean, that was just like so much information that I literally had no idea about. But I kind of missed the part in your history where you like became super confident in your ability to date and like how did you get to that point?
Got it. Yeah, we skipped over that part. So how it happened was I came back. So I graduated college at 22, and I moved to Los Angeles, where it is one of the hardest cities in the country to date. I think maybe the hardest city, maybe next to Miami potentially.
Really?
Um, no, actually, it's more. It's actually harder than Miami. Yeah, it is, because it has a city that's not really set up for people to meet each other. It's a very disconnected city because there's no transportation. There's not a lot of walking. There's not a
Right.
lot of
That's
hubs where
true.
people are around. It's one of the largest cities in the world, and you'll go there and you'll think it's post-apocalyptic. Like, where is everybody?
Yeah,
You're like, where's everybody? They're there,
that
but
makes sense.
they're in their cars. Um,
They're in their cars.
God, there should be a dating app for people to meet in cars. Traffic app. Ooh, this is a good idea. Steal this. Okay, so I moved to LA, very hard place to date. Also, I'm 22 years old. As a man at 22 years old, you don't have you don't have a very high what's called sexual market value, meaning value in the sexual marketplace, or we can say dating marketplace. Uh, you don't have a lot of experience. You're still, your body is still like kind of forming into itself. You're still like not as good looking as maybe when you turn 30 years old. You've grown more into yourself.
A lot
You're
of
not
money
as
there.
confident. You don't have a lot of money. You're usually broke. There's not a lot of rich 22-year-olds. I don't know. People are still living at home with their parents, but up until 25.
Right.
So now you put that guy inside with no dating apps available because it's 2007. And so I had to learn how to date and how to meet women. So I would search stuff online. I would, join little forums and groups of guys also trying to learn how to meet women, how to attract women. And it's funny because I'm really glad I went to LA. If I didn't go to LA, you and I would not be talking. I would not be doing what I do because
It's where you
other
learn, right?
cities, yeah, other cities are just so much easier. So, Chicago, for example, New York City, I mean, there's people everywhere. You can just go
Yeah.
anywhere, any time of the
Right.
day, at night, you meet people. It's so easy. So I'm very grateful that it was a struggle because then I had to put myself through intense like boot camps of going out and
Right.
learning how to meet people. I would go out like 5 to 6 nights a week for like a year, just learning how to approach women, how to talk to women.
Wow.
There were online dating sites at the time. They did exist. There weren't apps, there were sites, and I did use them for like 2 months.
Match.com and
Yeah,
Harmony,
Match.com,
eHarmony.
eHarmony, what else was there? JDate, um, Christian Singles maybe was
Oh
around
yeah.
then. It was like, like 3 or 4 of the biggest apps at that time. And I just wasn't really meeting anyone that I really liked because at that point I probably didn't know how to do online dating either. I was just do, threw up some pictures and did my best.
Tripp went through it so
And
that others could run. He walks so
Yeah.
others could run.
exactly. I crawled while other people can sprint. We'll even
There
say
you
that.
go. There you go.
It was a very tough time. And so then I said, okay, well, I got to get off the dating sites because they're just not working. And I didn't know how to fix it because they weren't that popular still.
Right.
2008, like it was still a little weird to meet people online. Like it didn't start getting normal till like maybe 2010, and even more normal till the apps came out. So I learned how to just go out and socialize and flirt and meet women and build confidence and self-esteem and understand more and read books of like what women were interested in and how they became attracted versus men. And I learned some things on my own. I learned some things from people. I learned some things from books and from the internet and blogs and kind of putting it all together
Wow.
and just ended up starting to get results and started to date more women and doing this all without having to do any online dating and dating women that I always thought were like out of my league.
Right.
And so this came to a point, long story short, is where I ended up starting my own podcast in 2009 with a buddy of mine where we did
Oh,
teach.
that's early. That's early in podcasts.
Yeah, early in podcasting. Yeah, it was. And so yeah, we started to teach guys. And I would just kind of teach the lessons that I learned. And then eventually I decided to start Tripp Advice.
Wow, that is awesome. That is seriously incredible. And you were kind of talking about how you were like, I used to think that being the nice guy was the way to get women, and I'm assuming that you learned that wasn't the way through those years of dating. Now I'm curious because I think men still think that being the nice guy is the way to go because everyone loves a nice guy.
And we have a lot of those. We have a lot of those here.
We do have a lot of those. So I'm curious, like, what do you think it is now? Is it like a nice guy? Is it a good guy? How do you?
The bad boy.
Is it a bad
I
boy?
mean,
What's the way for these men to attract women?
ultimately the bad boy gets the most women, that's for sure, because of his ultra confidence and attitude.
Right.
But you can't really just turn like a normal, average, good, nice guy into a bad boy. It doesn't really work that way. But it's more about like you want to be a good guy. you want to be a good person, but you don't want to use being nice as your tool for attraction.
Right.
It's just not a good tool, right? So being nice, trying to just spend a lot of time with the woman and giving them lots of compliments, showing lots of immediate attention and affection, being able to, responding to them super fast, trying to see them all the time, confessing your feelings to them, all that stuff is
Man,
um
I see that so much around here.
do you?
It's
Yeah, I
all
mean,
over the place. The boys fall into that all the time.
yeah, and I don't blame them. So did I. So does every guy. Because listen, when you're being raised by your parents, what are you being taught?
Be
Be
polite.
nice,
Be
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 nice.
nice.
polite. Right. That just, that stuff works if you want to make friends and if you want to be socialized, like all great lessons. We should be those people. It's just counterintuitive with attraction. It doesn't work with women. So with women, you still will be like a good person, but you want to be a little bit more mysterious. You don't want to be
Huh?
the guy that they can really pinpoint as like a guy that they know for sure likes them. There should be a little bit of mystery there. You want to be able to have a conversation with them almost the way that you treat your guy friends a little bit, which sounds funny.
Yeah,
Like you want
friendly.
to tease them
Yeah.
a little bit, you want to joke around a little bit. You're still being like a nice person, but you're not like being overly nice or trying to, uh, you know, buy them things, do things for them. You want to almost go into an interaction with a woman, assuming that either they already like you or going into an interaction with the idea of why should I like them? Not, oh, there's this girl there. I need to do everything I can to get her to like me. Like I need to like do things to get her
Mm.
to like me. You should already be in a guy or work on being a guy who is super confident, charismatic, really good with people.
I love that.
Like I said confident, and through those actions and that idea, you'll be able to attract more women. And then I have an attraction formula that I talk about called TED, which stands for
Oh.
tension, like building sexual tension, entertainment, like having a fun and engaging
Right.
conversation, and dominance, which is leading. And a lot of nice guys, they don't build sexual tension. They're not very interesting people, and they're not very dominant at all.
Interesting. Okay, I want to talk about the whole mysterious thing. How does somebody be mysterious? And then also like talk about, I guess, like how do you build the sexual tension? And then you said engaging conversation. And then what was the last one? D was for
Dominance.
dominance. Yeah. How would a guy show that? Like you could guess however you think that can be explained.
Totally. So, okay, so we'll start with your first thing. You said mystery. So, how do you have more mystery? This one is actually really easy. You just have to leave a little bit more out. Okay. So, you're not going to be over complimenting them. You're not going to be showing so much interest where you're just like, I just want to know everything about you. And guys will say that. So you want to make sure you're not really showing that. And also you're not divulging all this information about yourself. Like you want to be on a first date where they can walk away and go, I don't really totally know that guy. And that's good.
Mm.
You want that. You want them to stick around a little bit longer. This is why we watch TV shows and we binge TV shows because we want to see what happens next. There's some mystery. And to go
Oh.
even deeper into it, that's one of the reasons why desire actually starts to die in marriages is because there's no more mystery left. Well, it's all
That's
kind of
true.
done. We know
That's true.
every single thing about each other. We've done every single experience together and we see each other all the time. And there's no excitement there. There's no excitement as it used to be. So you have to create more of that desire as you get deeper into relationships. In the beginning of a courtship, it's a lot easier, but you have to make sure you still retain some of that mystery, but not divulging so much. But that's not too much of what you want to do. More so, you want to work on the TED formula.
Okay.
So
Okay.
tension for T is sexual tension. You build sexual tension with some of your body language and also with the way that you talk to a woman. Women will not respond very well to facts. They respond a little bit more to communication that's going to spike emotion.
Oh, there you
Right.
go.
So if you go up to a woman and you just start talking or you go on a date with a woman and it's just kind of like all facts, like you're just spitting out a resume, like here's my resume, uh, not that interesting.
being interrogated.
I literally had my roommate come home from a date like yesterday, and she was like, "So he told me this and this and this about himself, like just like basically a portfolio of all his resume of all the things he had done." And she was like, "Yeah, that wasn't it." I'm like, "Okay, kind of exactly what you're saying. The facts."
Yes. Yes. So facts are obviously important. Those are going to be in there somewhere because if she doesn't know you at all, it might be too much of a mystery. And she's like, I don't even know who that guy was. And maybe it gets creepy and strange. And who the hell was that guy? But that's not a problem. It's really easy for us because we do that anyways to talk about ourselves or answer questions that are basic questions. But if you're able to build tension by flirting with the girl and having conversation that's speaking more of like the girly, flirty language that women are really actually very good at, then you're going to be able to get more of a reaction out of her. So I teach guys how to tease a girl a little bit. And when you're
Great advice.
talking to a girl, you're being more playful in conversation. You're joking around a little bit more. Guys who are really attracted to a woman tense up a lot and aren't feeling very loose and
Yes, we
comfortable. A lot
do.
of
Yes,
guys,
we do.
Oh
we
my.
do. And what's the reason why we do? Because we at default don't have many options. So every option and opportunity we get, it's like, okay, this is our opportunity. And we
Like the
get
end of
very
the world.
nervous.
Remember that, ladies.
This or
Be
nothing.
nice.
Exactly. So that's that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, and entertaining then is just joking around, being positive, laughing, having a good time, right? Is that what you say?
Yeah, exactly. And asking interesting questions. So asking questions, I have there's this study, it's called the 36 questions that was done at Stony Brook University in like the 80s, where two people would come together and ask this set of 36 questions. And they were very interesting questions. Anyone can look it up online. And they're just questions that are just more interesting than like, where did you vacation last year? So you can ask questions that are a little bit more deeper questions. And when you're able to ask someone that and they answer that, and then you answer that, it starts to actually have two people connect a little bit more with each other. You don't want to do it too much. You don't want to just list off a bunch of these questions like it's some quiz on a Cosmopolitan
Well,
magazine.
I think part of that is you need to listen to their answers to those questions,
Yes.
and then ask a few follow-up questions so you can get a little bit of a conversation going. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a combination of all this stuff. It's how you intermix all of it. It's like, okay, you're having a fun conversation. You bring up an interesting question. Okay, now here's a little fact about yourself. Now you're just being playful. Now you're kind of teasing her a little bit. Meanwhile, you're very comfortable with her. You're giving her really good eye contact. You're looking at her in the eye when you're talking, when you're listening to her, and just being like, I know this sounds kind of obvious, but I just don't think guys really do this, is like being a relaxed, chill, calm, normal dude where this woman can walk away from the date and go, I mean, that's just like how you build chemistry. Really, it's like, that's it. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of an X factor where sometimes you're just going to click more with one person. But if you want to really click with the most amount of people, being relaxed and chill, almost like you're with a friend and talking to them just like they're a normal person, rather than trying to act like, okay, I'm on a date and I need to do this like date thing. That is going to there's going to be more of like an invisible wall between you and the woman. So you really want to be able to have that relaxed conversation, chill, almost like this non-needy vibe. Like, you don't need her. You're not trying to get her. You're not trying so hard. You're not
the mystery thing.
Yeah, this is the mystery thing. She's going to be like, wow. She's going to assume, if you come into a conversation in the vibe that I'm telling you right now, she's going to assume that you have plenty of women that you could be with. And she's going to be even more attracted to that. It's called social proof. She's going to think, wow, this guy has a lot of options. And that's going to make her want you even more.
Tripp just threw some science in there. He threw the whole theory in there.
I love that. That is so.
There's a lot.
Everything you just said is so important, because I can see this with guys going on a date and they tense up and they think, I have to be this perfect guy and I have to do everything just right, or she's not going to be interested in me. And you're saying, just relax, just be yourself, just talk like it's one of your friends. Because if you do that, then she's going to be way more attracted to you.
I have to say, as a woman who's this like college just started like 3 weeks ago for us, and I've been to like a party almost every single night, and I meet like 50 different people every single time, and it's like the same conversation over and over again. And I'm sure that it's that way when you meet a bunch of new people wherever you go. But it's like I'm so sick and tired of hearing the same three questions being asked over and over again. I'm like, I don't care where you're from anymore. It's okay, I'm gonna forget it in 5 minutes. But when I have a conversation with someone where they're like, "What are you passionate about? Tell me something that that nobody can actually tell me except for you." When you have those conversations with someone, it makes the guy stand out. And so I am totally with you on being able to have a conversation where the boy is entertaining and they're asking good questions, where you like feel like actually feel uplifted walking away from that conversation and not like totally drained because it was the same conversation that I've already had with all these people. So I think that is
Right.
such great advice.
Macy, I'm curious, how old are you?
I'm 22. I'm in the same spot you
22.
were.
Okay. So you're a senior.
I'm technically a junior, but yeah.
Okay. Junior, senior. Okay. Got it. Yeah. I mean, it's tough because especially, what women are attracted to, you're dealing with men who generally they don't have that much going for them yet, like they're guys who are 21, 22, 23. So I would imagine that you are probably even more selective than maybe someone who is a little bit older, potentially. I don't know. I'm just kind of still working that out. I don't really talk to a lot of college people, but yeah, I mean, there's only so much conversation I guess you can have in college. So you got to be a little creative, and guys have to be a little bit creative. But I don't want to just say that for college guys. This goes for any guy, whether you're 22, you're 60 years old, you still want to be able to have interesting, engaging conversation. I have something I can give away. Actually, it's for free. It's called Chick Crack. So Chick Crack is, it's not a drug, although it kind of acts like one. It's,
Free
it's
drugs, guys.
5
Here you
topics
go.
of conversation. Yes, this would work on you too. I guarantee you, with every woman. It's 5 topics of conversation that women love to talk about. So if you bring any of these topics up in conversation, it's going to be easier to have a conversation and continue conversation and work off of whatever it is that you guys are talking about. So, yeah, trippadvice.com/chick-crack. If you go there, you'll get a video. It's 100% free, and you'll learn those topics
You
of
guys
conversation that you
have
can
to
bring
do
up.
that.
I am totally going to look at that after this.
All right, Tripp. So now we've figured out who the guy should be. Now there still is that level of, okay, I'm still very nervous to actually ask this girl out on a date. What you recommend then to get them past that nervousness stage of, I don't know if I want to ask her out, to actually asking and being able to actually get a date so you can go out with her?
Okay, so I'll give 2 answers here. I'll give my practical answer and I'll give my tough love answer. Okay, I'll go with the practical first.
I'm excited for the second one.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so the practical answer is, in order to get less nervous around women and asking them out, you just have to do it more. That's the whole idea, is that we only fear what we haven't done or what we haven't experienced. That's the only reason why we're nervous. And so you have to just do it more. And so a lot of guys might think, well, okay, great advice. Like, I haven't done it. So how do I even get started to do it? If I can't do it, how can I do it more to even get to that point? Right. It's like a catch 22. So in order to get to that point, the idea is to let go of the outcome. A lot of guys are really nervous to get rejected. Okay, if I ask her out, it's not going to work out. She's not going to give me her number. She's going to tell someone. It's going to be embarrassing. And you know what? Yeah, that's it. That is what's going to happen. Yeah. And here's part 1 of tough love. Like, yeah, life's tough. This is your first lesson, is that it's mostly not going to work out with most women, and you're going to get rejected most of the time. But in my opinion, if we know that as a reality, I think it softens it up as a way to go into this a little bit easier. If you go into a bar, for example, and say, all right, I'm just going to get rejected by 10 girls tonight, it's going to be a little bit easier mindset wise to maybe do that than go, okay, I got to talk to 10 women tonight. I really hope I don't get rejected. Oh God, I hope I don't get rejected. This is really scary. If I ask the girl out, like, what is she going to say? That you're making your life way harder doing that. So make it easier on yourself and try to forget too much about what of an outcome that you're trying to seek. And the less you seek the outcome, you'll be surprised the more the outcome actually happens. Okay.
Wow,
So that's the
what a
practical
like
advice.
go and think you're gonna get rejected 10 times?
Yeah, well, because you're right. You will get
Yeah.
rejected that many times, and you have to learn to get over the rejection. I talk about this all the time. Rejection hurts, but get used to it because it's going to happen, which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah. And it calluses you over time. You're not going to care anymore. And then it becomes the point where you can switch the mindset and you can say, well, I'm going to talk to 10 girls here at this party because I'm going to be curious to see if they're good enough for me. I want to see
Oh,
if
I
this
love that.
girl,
I love that.
if I like myself enough and have confidence, and then I think to myself, like any girl would be lucky to be with me, then it's less about, oh, I got to make sure these 10 girls like me versus, oh, let's see if I like these women. So
Mm,
I want to go
yeah.
talk to her, not to get her to like me, but to see if I like her.
That's so
So
great.
that's the mindset flip there. Um, are you ready for the tough love portion?
Yes, give us
I'm
that
ready.
one.
I'm shaking.
I
I'm
can't
so
wait to hear this.
excited.
All right, here it is. Life is not handed to you, and life is survival of the fittest. Whether you believe in evolution or not, this is survival of the fittest. So there's no guarantee you're going to succeed, and life will just push you out if you don't make anything happen. So I'm not going to be here to say necessarily like, go do it. You have to talk to all these girls, da da da. It's like, this is for you if you want to do it. Just understand that there's going to be guys out there who are going to do it. And guess what? They're going to have more of those chances with women. They're going to go through the
Right.
hard times. They're going to go through the rejection and they're going to get results. So you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But if you want to be someone who just doesn't get too far in life, accepts being in their comfort zone, sits on their couch, plays video games, does nothing, doesn't try, avoids rejection, that's fine. You don't have to do anything you want to do, but you're just going to be weeded out of existence. You will not be able
Oh,
to
so
have
true.
the kind of life that you want to have. And that's just the reality of it. So, do you want to be a winner or do you want to be a loser? And if you want to be a winner, you're going to have to go through some tough times. So, buckle up and just get through it.
Love it.
Wow.
Absolutely love it.
Buckle up. That's good.
Okay, Tripp, I have to
That's
tell
it.
you why we are called the It's Just Dinner podcast, and I want to get your opinion because I
Okay.
believe everything you just said. But what we teach on this podcast is that guys are so afraid of dating. So we say, look, don't worry about it. Just meet a girl and ask her if she wants to go out to dinner and then just sit and talk to her. And that does what you said earlier is that you do that more and more and you get more confidence and more confidence. But that's one of the things I try to tell people is like just have the confidence to just go out to eat because everybody eats and it's so low key and there's no expectation. So that's what we do. So, what do you think of that idea?
I love it. I mean, listen, yeah, whatever you want to do. I mean, make it, I love the name, make it even easier. It's just coffee, it's just water, just a drink, it's just a
Yeah, we
walk.
talk
Like,
about that all the time. Yes.
yeah, I like that because let's not make it a bigger deal than it is. We're two humans on this earth. One day we're both not going to be here. And let's just have a nice dinner. Let's have a nice conversation. Let's chat with each other. Let's see what happens. And let's not make too much of a big deal out of it. I think that's great.
Love it. See, I love having guests on that agree with me.
He said, "What do you think of my
It
podcast?
makes
Be
me feel
honest."
it makes me feel really smart. So thank you. All right, one last question before we let you go. And so you have our audience here. And so what is the one thing that you'd want to walk away with telling these guys that they have to do? The one thing that must be done for them to change their lives and to have a lot more fun getting to know women.
My biggest advice for any guy here is take the steps to just go out and talk to 5 women that you would always be a little bit nervous to talk to. Every man has to go through that rite of passage. Every
Love
man.
it.
Don't, anyone can put a dating profile up and swipe while they're on the toilet. That's easy. But going up to a woman and saying, hey, I wanted to come meet you, just saying hello, starting a conversation with a woman that you've never seen before, you do that 5 times, I guarantee you, by the time you've done it on the 5th time, no matter what happens, whether you get 5 numbers from 5 beautiful women or all 5 brutally reject you, you will be stronger from that because you took the action that was really hard. If guys did that more, that would be one of the best things they can do, because it's going to teach them to get over the fear of rejection. It's going to push them to do things that are really hard, and it's hard to go and talk to a woman that you're attracted to. And it's going to have such a positive effect on your life, because it's one of the more hard things a guy can do. So once we do hard things in our life, it makes it actually easier to do other hard things. So I always say that confidence, there's a formula for it. The formula is
another formula for us.
another formula for you. You can write this one down. Confidence equals competence plus the ability to step into the unknown.
Love it.
Oh, okay.
So the more you're competent in something, the more confident you'll be, right?
Yeah.
It's like learning to walk. Well, what do? When you learn to walk, you try to walk, you fall a few times, eventually you just learn to walk and you're just competent in it. You don't even think about it.
Right.
No one's like, I walk and I'm so confident walking. It's just second nature to me. Why? Because you've done it and you've been doing it your whole life pretty much.
Right.
Or anything else for that matter. I don't know, any subject in school, maybe it was hard in the beginning and then you learned it and then you're like, oh yeah, at one point 5 plus 5, you had to think about that for a second. Now it's just like, oh, I got it. Right.
Yeah.
It's just because you're competent. The more you talk to women, the more you go on dates, the more competent you'll become. Then, plus the ability to step into the unknown. What happens is the more risks you take in your life, the more times you try to step into the unknown, meaning you try new things and you get out of your comfort zone, which can be anything. Maybe it's talking to girls, maybe it's going skydiving, maybe it's public speaking, whatever it is. The more times in your life that you do new things that scare you, all those things start to add up.
Right.
And then you become just a confident person. That means that like once you've done 10 new things that were really scary to do, the next 10 things, they actually won't even be that scary, even though you've never done it before, because you're so used to trying new things and doing things that are hard. It's just part of your life. So it's a beautiful thing. It all adds up. Every hard thing you do, every piece of adversity that you go through, it just makes you a stronger and better person altogether.
Man, I love that. That's
That is
such great
awesome.
advice.
Great
Wow.
dating advice and honestly life advice too.
Man.
Like,
Yeah, you guys, you got to listen to Tripp. He's amazing. I cannot believe the advice that you gave us on our podcast today, Tripp. You were just absolutely. So, okay, Tripp.
Incredible.
So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. I know that you can go to Instagram and he's got tons of posts up and every one of them is helpful and will give you some really good confidence boosters and help you in this dating role.
They're really great.
Really great. So, Tripp, where else can our followers find you?
Yeah, totally. It all depends on what kind of media you like to consume. So if you like Instagram, Tripp Advice. If you like YouTube videos, Tripp Advice. If you love podcasts, which you probably do because you're listening to one right now, it's not called Tripp Advice. It's actually called How to Talk to Girls.
Oh, wow.
I only named it that because no one would know what Tripp Advice is if they're going through and looking for podcasts. They'd be like, oh, vacation advice. No. So it's called How to Talk to Girls. And then if you're interested in diving deep and learning how to meet and attract women, I have a course. It's called Hooked. You can check that out at getherhooked.com. And if you're interested in learning more about how we can help you through an actual coaching program where you get a one-on-one coach, you can go to trippadvicecoaching.com.
Wow. Amazing. That's just great. Tripp, thank you so much. This was just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, incredible. Thank you so much.
It was so great. And look, you guys, you really have to go follow him. You really have to go and listen to what he has to say. You're going to love it. It's going to help you. It's going to give you the confidence to get up off the couch, to drop the video game controller and to go out and talk to women, to be able to have some dates and actually go on some dinners. I think that would be the last thing I would say. Macy, thank you.
Oh, Tom, it's been a pleasure. I have such a fun time imitating Bob.
Can you help your guy friends now?
Oh, I can totally help them. I'll get them to be swiping for the next every day for an hour.
I like that.
And I'll come back and I'll report back to you, Tripp, and I'll let you know how it goes.
Awesome. All right, guys. In addition to Tripp, you can find us on Dating Made Simple on Instagram, and we have lots of fun stuff up there. Macy and Sophie are busy trying to put some fun stuff up on there. You can also follow us. We're on TikTok, and we're also, if you want to email us, it's the It's Just Dinner Podcast at gmail.com. So keep writing in, give us your comments, follow us on Instagram, follow our podcast. We put out a new podcast every Friday. So please jump in and listen to us and become a follower, because we try to give you great advice every week too. So thank you guys. Thank you, Tripp. Thank you, Macy. And listen, you guys, just go have fun out there, would you?